Hello, everyone. I'm Robyn Grable, the founder of Talents Ascend and the Ascend Collective, and your host for Ascending Beyond Barriers. Welcome. Ascending Beyond Barriers is an inspiring podcast dedicated to showcasing the remarkable journeys of small business founders who have faced and overcome significant challenges on their path to success. Each episode delves into the personal stories of entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds, highlighting their unique experiences, struggles, and triumphs. Today, we're excited to welcome Michelle Penczak. She's a visionary entrepreneur, award-winning CEO, and passionate advocate for military spouses. After facing the challenges of finding flexible, fulfilling work as a military spouse, she founded Squared Away in 2017 and turned it into a thriving Inc. 5000 ranked company. Wow. Under her leadership, Squared Away has paid out over $26 million to military families while providing top-tier virtual assistant services to clients around the world. Michelle's mission-driven approach empowers military spouses and redefines what's possible in remote support. Thanks so much, Michelle. So great to have you on and get to talk with you today. I got to meet you finally in person in January when we were at the Military Spouse Employment Partnership ceremony. So that was awesome. Just amazing work that you're doing. I'm so inspired and just really aspire to doing as much as you're doing. But I think one of the things that we talk about, and this is certainly the podcast is all about ascending beyond barriers. So military spouses face some of the biggest barriers, especially in employment. And it's something that doesn't get talked about enough. We try to talk about it as much as possible. It's one of our missions as well to support military spouses. But, necessity is the invention or Mother Nature's invention or however that saying goes. But tell us how you got started and what your life was like as a military spouse and what prompted you to start Squared Away.
Oh, man. I feel like my life is the prime example of if it can happen, it will. I have faced such adversity in my entire life. I was a first generation college student. My mom was a single mom who put herself through nursing school. God bless her. I don't know how she did it, but I went to college. I thought I wanted to join the Navy, and I know my husband laughs. He's a Marine, so there's quite a bit of banter there.
Yes.
But I went to Navy OCS. I made it through about 8 weeks, and then I was NPQ'd or not physically qualified due to an injury.
Oh, no.
And so everything that I had been working for years kind of just evaporated. Oh. So I got really lucky. We had some family friends who were moving to DC, and they needed a nanny. So I became a nanny for triplets.
Wow.
It was an adventure, and I really learned how to juggle all the things at once with all three girls. And that kind of led me to being a personal assistant to a lobbyist in DC. And I loved what I was doing. It was very much what's going to happen today. There's no day is like the other. And I loved it. I thrived on creating order out of chaos, which there always was. And it was my adrenaline rush. My husband tells me I was a sick human for loving that, but it's great. And I thrive in that so much. So when I met him in 2012, I was working in DC and he was in flight school at the time. Wow. I told him I didn't even like Marines because they had bad haircuts. And
great uniforms, bad haircuts.
Exactly. He was like, this is the worst pickup line ever. But we ended up getting married about 6 months later. Nice. Crazy timing because military. And I immediately started applying for new positions in North Carolina. I thought I was ahead of the game. I had this great experience with literally the figure it out mindset, and nobody wanted to hire me. I was literally a stone's throw from my hometown. So I thought, these are my people.
Yeah.
Why are they not wanting to hire me?
Wow.
It turns out people are more interested in my husband's platform than what I was doing. So I kept trying to bring it back and say, actually, I can do this for you and your company. And they were like, well, we're really looking for someone XYZ. So I kind of got ticked off and I said, this
Mhm.
isn't fair. I'm incredibly qualified to answer phones in a law firm. Sorry. Um,
1,000%.
so this was 2013. I started looking at remote positions way before remote became cool.
Right.
And I found a virtual assistant company that I really loved. It was kind
Wow.
of one of the first that I'd heard of. And I got the job. I was working with clients from e-commerce to venture capital,
Nice.
everything in between. I didn't even know venture capital was a thing.
Right.
And so I kind of started diving in and figuring it out. And I loved what I was doing. It was
Nice.
different every single day, which was
Hmm.
right up my alley. And I made it to become a manager. I went through a whole deployment, a 9-month deployment, with being able to take time I needed for random phone calls, because we all know how that happens,
Right.
and be able to participate as a military spouse and be supportive in that capacity. And the same when my husband came home, I still had that flexibility to do that. Then my sad country song starts in 2015. My husband came home in October 2014 and then was deploying again in July of 2015.
Wow.
Quick, fast, and in a hurry deployment turnaround.
Yeah.
But we were 3 months pregnant with my first little boy.
Oh.
I'd been a manager for about 6 months. And 3 weeks after he deployed, so August of 2015, I woke up overnight with no job. I had no notification, advance warning, anything from the company.
Wow.
I'm sure you can still find the chaotic stories online, deep diving that, but they had
Wow.
over 400 employees. Nobody had a heads up. Clients didn't have a heads up. Nothing. So here I am, a hot hormonal mess because I'm pregnant. My husband's deployed. My company's imploding. My clients are freaking out. My team is freaking out. And I'm like, I need something right now. What is happening?
Wow.
And so one of my very near and dear friends, he was a client at the time, he said, just form an LLC. You've got this. Clients will come with you. No big deal. We got it.
Wow.
And I was like, you just said that like you were ordering a cheeseburger at Wendy's. Like, what is going
Your
on?
fingers.
So I took the next few hours, formed an LLC, like pulled up my Gmail and just figured out, okay, I can do this. I can make this work. So I did. I brought all of my clients with me, added a few more, and I did that same pretty much schedule, a little bit more flexible. And I did that until my husband came home and in January. And then 2 weeks later, I had Sawyer, my oldest, who was 9. And my husband likes to joke that I was putting up my out of office email, like literally telling the anesthesiologist, hold on a second. Like,
No
I
doubt.
gotta just put this up. But it was a whirlwind. I didn't have support when I was offline, so I only took 2 weeks. Never ever do that, anyone.
No.
Public service announcement from Michelle: do not take 2 weeks for maternity leave.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the support and infrastructure, so I needed to make sure my clients were taken care of. And thankfully, infants sleep a lot.
Yes.
So it was a learning curve for me as a mom and me as an entrepreneur at that time. But we figured it out.
Clearly.
Things were going well. And a few months later, my husband came home and said, we have orders to Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
Most people would be jumping up and down at that.
Right.
I cried in the closet for a hot
Oh.
second because all of my clients were on the East Coast. And
Oh,
I was like, time zones. That's
right.
gonna be fun. Um, but I said, you know what? After all of this, I'm not going to let time zones be my downfall.
Exactly.
Absolutely not. So I took a week to move to Hawaii. We moved in October of 2016. I started waking up at 3 a.m. to work with clients on the East Coast. Fully sponsored by every caffeine product on the market, I'm sure. But it was great. I worked until about 12 or 1 o'clock every day, and then I had the whole afternoon with Sawyer and being able to experience all of his first. So
Yeah.
as exhausting as it worked. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I just traveled 6 time zones and I still can work. I just need a good Wi Fi connection. And right after that is when one of my clients called me. I believe he was at South by Southwest in Texas.
Mm.
And he said, I need you to clone yourself. And I was like, that sounds great in theory.
Let's do it.
But I don't know what you mean. And he said, well, I'm scaling my company. I need you to scale too. Just think about it. I was like, dude, I haven't slept in 2 years at this point, basically. I don't know. I have a 1 year old. I don't know what's happening. So, funny enough, one of my friends in Hawaii at the time was having the exact same experience I was previously.
Wow.
So, like I said, there's a theme. I got ticked off and I said, this isn't fair. I can scale and build something and do it with military spouses in mind. So she was one of my very first employees, and we're still friends today. Like I have a PSA for that, but she's one of my very first employees. She worked with me through having 2 of her own children.
Wow.
So it's a fantastic testament to where there's a will, there's a way, and I think
Yep.
that is the main motivation behind Squared Away.
Yeah, it really is a testament to military spouses and the resilience and the resourcefulness and what they can get done.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and just so many people miss out. I mean, thankfully, your company that went belly up missed out on you, but now you've created this absolutely wonderful opportunity for other military spouses. So it was meant to be, even though you had to go through all that hardship. So, but yeah, just really a testament to what companies are missing out on when they don't give military spouses an opportunity to work remote when they PCS.
Absolutely.
That changes station. So yeah, amazing. Where were you in Hawaii? Kaneohe?
Kaneohe Bay, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was stationed in Pearl Harbor for 3 years. So I
Oh,
remember I'd never seen a Marine in dress blues before. I'd always seen them in their, in the camis and camouflage uniforms until I left Hawaii and went to Quantico for programming school. And I saw a Marine in their dress uniform and I was like, oh my gosh, it's just
that's
so
what did it. That's what
beautiful.
sold me. He was in a
Yeah.
dress uniform when I met my husband.
Oh my gosh, an absolutely beautiful uniform. But yeah, so well, wow. So Squared Away, I being in the Navy, I obviously understand that title. How did your husband feel about you naming it something that was more related to the Navy? I would think.
Well, it was such a good story in how that happened. One of the clients that I was working with is Robert Stevens. He's the founder of Geek Squad. And branding is literally like his entire wheelhouse. And he was like, you got to name this thing. I said, this is not my jam. Like, how do I do this? And he said, I want you to get a really good glass of wine and I want you to put Sawyer to bed and I want you to just sit there and think of all the phrases that are embodying everything that you want and are potentially military spouse related. I was like, okay, cool. You had me a good glass of wine. And so I did. And I was sitting there and my husband came home and he was on the phone and he was talking about something with work and he kept going, yeah, you got to get that squared away. You got to square that away and then give me a call back. And I was like, hallelujah, this is
Nice.
it.
Love
So
it.
he claims that he coined that phrase, but
Sure.
I'm like, no, you can take a little bit of credit for that one. But it just hit perfectly. So
Yeah, it's a great name, and it very much depicts what you do and how you help your clients and what you're doing for them. So, $26 million, amazing! Congratulations on that, just outstanding. What's the future of Squared Away?
oh man, military spouse unemployment is 21%.
Still, right?
We're coming for that number every single
Right.
day. And honestly, I don't think our mission is even close to complete until we start getting that number lower and lower across the board. And that doesn't necessarily mean just with Squared Away, it's other companies
Yeah.
teaching. One of the things that I love about our team is they're constantly trying to teach clients, don't just put us in a box. Look at our skill sets, look at our experience, and say, hey,
Yeah.
give this a shot. Maybe you would be good here. Or, oh my gosh, this is incredible. I didn't know you could do that. Let me put you here.
Yeah.
And then have them implement something within their companies to support other military spouses so that there is a PCS policy.
Right.
How do you support your teammates when they're PCSing? Do you have a remote policy for military families? So I think there's different ways to also teach clients and employers how to support military spouses so that they don't miss out on that talent pool.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten the question? Because I put on my HR hat and I can hear people saying, well, why should a military spouse get to work remote just because she's a military spouse or he or she's a military spouse? What do you say to people when they make that comment?
Oh man, that
get ticked off again, Michelle.
modeling the sassy right here is going to be the hardest piece because I think about, I think civilians and military spouses have it hard but different and separate in different aspects.
Yeah.
I solo parent 95% of the time. If that allows me to be a better mom to my kids when my spouse is absent because he's out defending the freedoms that you have every single day, put a cork in it.
Right. Love it. Yes. That was nice. It's probably nicer than I would have said. Yeah.
It took some thought on that one. But yes, I feel like there are certain things that military spouses, remote work would be the biggest thing. Being a military spouse is hard enough. Why make it harder?
Right.
Just because you don't want to allow us to work remotely.
Yeah. And I think, obviously the understanding of what military spouses go through and have to deal with. Just even the short time that you described between getting married and moving to North Carolina and then less than a year later, Hawaii. And that's the reality for military spouses. And people can say, well, they signed up for it. Absolutely. But it's still a duty to this country, not in the same uniform that's issued by the military, but they're wearing the uniform of this country, and there should be consideration for that. So,
I agree.
We talk about it a lot. So.
And I think military spouses who want an identity outside of being a military spouse, because trust me, we get thrown in that basket all the time.
Sure.
But I'm also Michelle. My team also has their own individual identities, and they have to have something. We have to have something that motivates us every single day and isn't just laundry, grocery shopping, cooking dinner, cleaning the house, and waiting for our spouse to come home. That is such a 1950s mental picture that I apologize if my face is turning red because that just burns me up a little bit. But if we want to contribute, we should be allowed to do that. Yeah. And it's hard.
And think about, there's plenty of studies out there and plenty of research out there that say military spouses, without them, we wouldn't have the all volunteer force that we do have. We wouldn't have the success of the military that we do have, because military spouses keep the home fires burning so that the service members don't have to worry about those things.
Yes.
They don't have to think about those things. They can just go defend our freedom and protect our country without having to worry about what's happening at home. But that's a hard bucket for them to fit into too, because they leave home, they know their military spouse is handling everything, and then they have to come back home.
Oh yeah.
And traverse that. How do I fit back in? You've been a solo parent for so long. You're used to doing everything. How do you fit that spouse back in? It's a tough transition, and people just that aren't in that environment just don't understand it, and they take it for granted, and it's aggravating. It really is.
When we were preparing for our first homecoming, I actually went to a Lynx class. And this is my true lifetime shout out to Lynx, because the instructor in there said, you have to imagine your world is spinning at the same tempo, at the same speed every single day. Yep. When your spouse comes back, your world doesn't stop. Mm-mm. They have to be able to join in that same axis spinning. And yep. That integration in and of itself is so hard. So, yes. Give a task a week and say, do this every week. Like, it is a true reintegration. And not only is it stressful for the spouse, both spouses, but it's also stressful if you have kids as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, because they've listened to mom for, 6 to 9 months, and now all of a sudden dad's back, and you're like, wait a second.
They're like, I don't know how to listen to you for
right. You haven't been here.
Well, let me go ask mom. I'm going to tell mom that you said this.
Right. Wow. Just amazing. Well, congratulations again on all that you're doing. And I guess we've got a couple minutes left here. I just want to focus on, tell us one of your greatest success stories, or how one of your military families that you feel like you've impacted the most in your journeys. Tell us a great success story from what you've been doing.
Man, that is such a hard one. I feel like we have so many, but
yeah, no doubt.
One of the ones that comes to mind is when I was pregnant with Sawyer. Right after I found out, there was a family in Jacksonville, so just down the road from us, that was in the middle of a PCS. They had 5 kids.
Oh my God.
And they sent their kids to be with family while they were PCSing. And they ended up losing 2 of their kids in a very tragic ATV accident. And I was shattered for this family.
Wow.
I couldn't imagine any piece of that as a mom. And I prayed I did not know them from anybody. I just knew they were a military family. I prayed for them constantly. And I would think about them every so often, here and there. And then in 2019, I got an email from Tiffany McCauley, and she said, I don't have a great resume. I was in the military. I took time off to raise my 5 kids, now 3.
Oh my God.
And she was telling me all this in her story. I was like, well, just put together a resume and I will get on a call with you. So I was like, oh my gosh, the Lord brought her into my life for a reason.
Yep.
And I said, Tiffany, I don't want to sound weird, but I remember when this happened, and I've prayed for your family. I can't even imagine losing 2 of my babies. And I said, I would love for you to be a part of Squared Away. She was like, I just want to work. I need somebody to give me a chance. And she started working with us in 2019. And then 6 months later, her client brought her on full-time as a director of operations in his company. And she still works there to this day in that role. Wow. And I don't know what the Lord was putting on my heart, but I just wanted to find a way to help this family. And I would say that Tiffany is one of our greatest complete full circle
That's awesome.
moment that just lights up my heart every time I think about it.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I can't even, I had chills when you said it. I can't even imagine. I have 5 grand cherubs and I can't even, I don't even want to even go there. That's,
It's a spot in my mind that I personally have never
yeah,
wanted to go to, and she has
no,
been such a resilient and such a force as a
yeah,
mom, and just in the business world. She is just untouchable, and I'm so proud of
yeah,
everything that she's doing. And she said, I just want to thank you for giving this to me. I said, I gave you nothing.
yeah.
I gave you the opportunity. You are the one who put in the legwork. You are the one who deserves every ounce of the success. I'm happy to be a step in your journey,
Well,
but
part of it, yeah.
this is truly why we exist and what we want for all of our team.
That's amazing. Wow. I think that's, and that's a mic drop there. That's what a great story. Thank you for sharing that. That
You're
is,
so welcome.
yeah,
I love talking about her, and
yeah.
her just family journey has been remarkable to witness.
Wow. Amazing. All right. Well, on that note, before I like cry too much on
Not my
camera here,
goal to make you cry. Not my
wow.
goal, I promise.
It just, yeah, it's very heartwarming. Yeah. So anyway,
Back
thank
to
you.
sassy. Back to sassy.
Yes, back to sassy. All right, we're still fired up though. We're still fired
Yes.
up. We need more, not the tragedy part of that story, but the success part of that story. We need more of that. And so,
The muscle and the
yes,
just grit and drive to succeed.
absolutely, which all military spouses have. So thank you again, Michelle. Thank you for all you're doing. Great success. We look forward to continuing to watch the journey of Squared Away and just all that you're doing. If we can do anything to help, we're certainly here. We're in the boat with you to fight this fight. So
Yes.
thank you so much. And thanks for being on today.
It is absolutely my pleasure. I am always happy to talk about just progressing the military spouse mission across the board. So you loop me in anytime, my friend.
Awesome. All right. You got it.